Hello to a special Warsaw Week episode of Atlantic Debrief, the Atlantic Council Europe Center series on the most pressing issues in transatlantic relations today. This week, we have been celebrating Warsaw Week, a week-long series of programming on the ground in Warsaw and available virtually to our international audience dedicated to highlighting the importance and significance of the U.S.-Poland relationship and Poland's role in Europe and beyond. You can watch all of our Warsaw Week programming using the link below. My name is Korewa. I'm the director of the Atlantic Council's Warsaw office that we relaunched 1 year ago, and I am delighted to welcome Senator Bogdan Klich, chairman of the Foreign Affairs and European Union Committee of the Polish Senate and the former Minister of National Defense of the Republic of Poland, to talk about U.S.-Polish relations during Warsaw Week. Senator Klich, welcome to Atlantic Debrief.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me.
Great. So first, Senator, I do know that you are from Krakow and you represent Krakow. I hope you don't mind that we call this Warsaw Week, but we are on the ground in Warsaw after all. So I hope that's okay.
Of course, we would prefer to be in Krakow because Krakow has a special atmosphere, and this is the atmosphere that gives the chance to have much longer perspective, and this horizon is a little bit, at least a little bit broader than you here in Warsaw. But here in Warsaw, it is a center of the political life.
Very true, very true. So let me jump in immediately here. I mean, as of course, the most pressing issue that we are facing is the unprovoked Russian aggression against Ukraine. And I'll just like to hear your thoughts on how do you think that Poland and the United States could best work together to secure a Ukrainian victory in this war?
We've been working together not only in Ukraine. It was our engagement in Iraq or Afghanistan that was crucial for not only maintaining, but developing our bilateral security relations. I was responsible for those two missions as a Minister of Defense. And in fact, it created, the space, the room for this chapter of our cooperation. And because from our point of view, I mean Central European, not only Polish point of view, this is much bigger threat and challenge. Our partners in the US know us and we know them. So this relationship can be based on history, trust, and values.
Very true. Thank you. So at the Atlantic Council, we believe that it is in the U.S. interest that the Polish voice is heard in key institutions, transatlantic institutions like NATO, but also in the European Union. How do you think we can achieve that? Do you think we can raise the Polish voice in these key organizations?
We have the feeling, that the role of Poland after the 24th of February last year increased, not only in geopolitical environment, but also in the perception of Washington. That's very important for us because our security, Polish security, externally is based on three legs, the US, NATO, and European Union. There is, of course, a crucial division between the current government and the opposition in Poland because the opposition is convinced that not only American and NATO's support, but also the European Union's support can play a crucial role in maintaining our national security. But there is no doubt and no controversies between the ruling camp and the opposition concerning necessity of encouraging Americans to be present here and to be visible here and to play a crucial role on Polish soil. I can tell it as a first Minister of Defense in the history of Poland that signed an agreement in June 2011 concerning the first in history permanent stationing of American troops in Poland. It was a small detachment, aviation detachment, responsible for the trainings of Polish and American pilots. But it was the first moment in 2011 that we can say was a beginning of permanent stationing of a part of continuous presence of American troops in Poland. And currently, more than 10,000 Americans in Poland, American soldiers in Poland, creates this, let's say, great symbol for our good mutual security relationship.
Thank you. So I guess let me because you are chairman of the Committee for European Union Affairs. I mean, what would you say that Poland should what would you say would be the ideal role for Poland in the European Union, or what do you think that Poland should be doing or advocating in the European Union? Maybe a complicated question, but I don't know. It's something that interests me, given that you're chairman of that committee after all.
We are satisfied not only because of the decision of President Biden to return to Europe. America returning to Europe is once again crucial pillar of our external pillar, of course, of our security. We are glad of that. We are satisfied with that, and we hope that the time of President Donald Trump that undermined political unity of the West will not return. So America first in Polish security vocabulary, but European Union, as I mentioned before, is also absolutely crucial. As the chairman of this committee, I see the European Union working very hardly from the very beginning of the Russian war against Ukraine, to support fighting Ukraine. I have never seen before the 24th of February, such a speed in reactions and decisions of the European Commission. And I haven't seen before also such a short time of legislative process, beginning with the initiative of the European Commission and ending with the decision of the European Union's Council. So this process of decision making was reduced to a necessary minimum concerning security. I have never seen the European Union delivering or supporting delivery of weapons to fighting Ukraine. I have never seen such a huge involvement of the European Union, financial involvement concerning the training of Ukrainian troops. And finally, European Union is also responsible for a big amount of money devoted to macroeconomic support for Ukraine. Without this support, together with American partners, the West wouldn't be able to maintain Ukrainian budget. This is a kind of crucial injection, financial injection to the state budget of Ukraine. So the European Union shows that it has ability to act and it is ready to be engaged in supporting Ukrainians. And I hope that it will be maintained in future.
Yeah, we are very positively, I wouldn't say positively surprised, but Vladimir Putin sure underestimated our ability to stay united and stay strong. So that was a grave miscalculation on his part. So shifting gears a little bit back to Poland in itself. I mean, there are those who say, well, thanks to the fact that Poland has taken such a huge role in supporting Ukraine, but also, as you mentioned, the U.S. presence here, is that the people talk about the center of gravity shifting in Europe east, away from the traditional centers of power and importance. And then some counter that and say, well, it's not really the center of gravity that's shifting. It's maybe the center of attention, because they're not sure that, Poland can is in place yet to assume a greater leadership role. What are your thoughts on that? Center of gravity or center of attention? Maybe both.
I would say, that let's begin from the very beginning. I mean, from the reaction of Polish society, Polish people, ordinary people, to the Russian invasion on Ukraine. It was a huge wave of solidarity, and taking into account, keeping in mind, solidarity from 1980 and 1981, the biggest wave of solidarity in the history of modern Poland. I would say, that this Ukrainian, pro-Ukrainian wave of solidarity in my country can be compared with that one that created a completely new environment for democratic and liberal changes in our statehood. So this is this social basis. Poles were not only in favor, but Poles in solidarity showed the brotherhood with Ukrainian nation and mainly Ukrainian refugees. So it was a basis for a bipartisan similar approach, to support. For Ukraine. That's why I hope that it will be continued, and it gives it changes, the picture of Poland that was destroyed, completely destroyed in the world during last 6 years before the invasion of Russian troops in Ukraine, and after. The ruling coalition began the process of destruction of Polish democracy, together with, let's say, the sphere of fundamental freedoms. They destroyed the Constitutional Tribunal. They destroyed the independence of judiciary. They destroyed also the Supreme Court. And they reduced, the independence of courts in Poland to a minimum. This is only one aspect, of those institutional counter-revolution that the ruling coalition was and is going to introduce, counter-revolution. Towards the solidarity revolution several years ago that brought, the transformation of the communist system to the democratic. Unfortunately, I see in the position and the politics of the ruling coalition several elements of the communist system that I believed, went aside and that would have never returned. So it destroyed, our image within the family of European nations. And what's happened after the 24th of February creates a new value, showing, that in this special time, testing, our ability to support Ukrainians, Poland is in the first row of those who do that. So the image of Poland improved in Europe without any doubts, and has to be maintained. But what is necessary to introduce it is to reverse this process of democratic decline in Poland. Of course, we are not in Budapest. We are not in Ankara that moved from liberal democracy to authoritarian regimes. But we are in the half of this process. That's why what is necessary to do, it is after the next parliamentary election to reverse this process of democratic decline introduced by the ruling coalition in Poland. And it will be the second part of this revival of Polish image among democratic nations, European and American partners, and I hope that we'll return, to this community of liberal democracies as we were between 1989 and the year 2015.
Would you say that what you just talked about is the greatest obstacle for Poland to assume a greater leadership role in Europe, and or are there others? And what would you say are some prospects for Poland to take on such a role?
Voters will decide during parliamentary election in October. I hope that the opposition will win these elections and will return to this set of values that was a driving force, for us in the underground movement, and afterwards during the democratic and liberal transformation. I mean, the role of democracy, the role of human rights, the role of fundamental political freedoms, the role of freedoms of minorities, but also dignity of every Pole. The current government decided, to use human beings as instruments of its policy, decided to capture what was in the hands of the public opinion in Poland. For example, the public TV, was reshaped in the form of propaganda machinery. It doesn't have anything with independent media. The government created new associations and foundations that created, a part of our civil society in the form of governmental, non-governmental organizations. This is one of the paradoxes, of our political life, that the social society, that the public civil society was divided into two parts. Real non-governmental organizations, and those organizations that were created either by the government or using the funds of our taxpayers for people connected with the government. So those trends have to be reversed together with nomenclatura. The current nomenclatura is very similar to, in its shape, of course, to this nomenclatura that I remember from my young years, from the 70s and 80s. Families responsible, for public state owned companies, families responsible for tasks that are let's say shifted to the associations and foundations. This is something that has nothing with the civil society, but has much with post-communist nomenclatura. That's why those processes have to be reversed, and this is one of the preconditions of our bigger role in the European Union that Poland is ready to play. We are a big country. This is a big society, and this society, is a Western society, not Eastern society. But it is necessary, to give the impulse, political impulse, to return to the role of 5-6 main players within the European Union.
Well, Senator, thank you so much for that honest and candid conversation. That's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us, and follow along with our work on Twitter at AC Europe. You can also keep up with our specific Warsaw programming using the hashtag Warsaw Week and sign up for other events below. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Thank you so much.